If someone wanted to push people away from Jesus in a subtle and scalable way, this would probably be a really good approach, where you redefine what power even means, and then you make people evaluate Jesus through that lens. Comparing Jesus to Genghis Khan in terms of war only makes sense if you've already accepted that war is the ultimate measure of truth. It's actually kind of crazy when you slow down and think about it, because that statement, like, it's actually a really old way of thinking. It's just repackaged in a way that almost makes it feel intelligent. It's almost like you can hear the strategy behind it if you listen closely, because it's basically saying, well, let's measure everything by power and conquest and domination. Like, that's the lens, right? So then, yeah, of course, someone can say, well, Jesus had no advantage over Genghis Khan because now everything is flattened into one category. Who took more land and controlled more people, and which one forced the most change? And so, of course, in that system, a conqueror looks greater, but that's the trick. And it's almost like you can hear the enemy in it, not denying Jesus, but just redefining the rules. Like, don't reject him, just measure him differently. Look at the domination and the control, not the transformation of your heart. Because once you do that, Jesus then stops making sense. And all of a sudden, humility looks weak, and the sacrifice almost looks pointless, and the love and obedience that we have towards God feels now like losing. And it's subtle, because nobody's screaming, well, this is just wrong. It just slowly shifts how you evaluate things. Now you're asking, well, who's winning, instead of what is the truth? That's the shift. And what's crazy is that Jesus and Genghis Khan, they weren't even operating in the same category to begin with. Like, how do you compare someone whose entire mission was force-driven and fear-based when Jesus's mission was internal and voluntary, and it was something that transforms people from the inside out? And so comparing them in a war scenario is honestly like it doesn't even make sense. Like, who's gonna win, a surgeon or a firefighter in a chess match? You know, it's just like the wrong category. But again, that's the point. Because if the enemy can keep everything in the physical, if everything can stay about what you can see and measure and control, then you never even look at the spiritual layer. You never look at what Jesus was actually doing. And then even the cross starts to look like weakness. Like, see, he didn't fight back. He didn't defend himself. He lost. But it's like, no, he refused that category entirely. He wasn't trying to win a human war. He was dealing with sin and death and deception and the stuff that was going on inside of people. And in that war, he conquers by transforming them. But if you've already been convinced that power only looks like violence, then you won't even recognize that as victory. And that's where it gets just kind of interesting, because you start realizing, like, this isn't always some obvious evil voice. Sometimes it's just people repeating a mindset that they've already bought into. And without realizing it, they're speaking from a lens that literally can't perceive what Jesus is even doing. And also, when you zoom out, it's like, okay, wait, Genghis Khan built an empire through force, and then it eventually faded like every other empire. But Jesus had no army, no weapons or political control, and somehow his influence is still growing and changing people and still moving across generations today. That's not even the same kind of power. And so if someone wanted to pull people away from Jesus in a way that doesn't feel obvious, this would actually be really effective. Don't attack him directly, just redefine the scoreboard. Make dominance look like truth. And once people can accept that, they'll start to just misunderstand him all on their own, and they won't even realize why.